This presentation provides a broad overview of the draft Future Direction report of the Military Road Corridor Planning Study Stage 1 that's currently on exhibition. My name is Thomas van der Meer and I am the project coordinator for this important strategic plan for North Sydney Council. The purpose of this planning study is to create a framework for future development along the Military Road Corridor, specifically in the Neutral Bay Town Centre, and to provide certainty to the community regarding any future changes to the centre. This will establish a future vision for Neutral Bay Town Centre as part of the Military Road Corridor, a development framework against which changes to planning controls will be looked at, and a range of community benefits that will be delivered through planning proposals on a few sites within the area. Context overview. Neutral Bay Town Centre is built on the traditional land of the Cammeray Gael people. The name Neutral Bay comes from the non-British neutral ships that could anchor in this bay since 1789. Neutral Bay Town Centre started to flourish when a tram track was built along the ridge to supply fortifications at Middlehead. The tram track is what we now know as the Military Road. The Neutral Bay Town Centre area is east of the Ring Expressway and clearly away from the regional Eastern Economic Corridor that includes major infrastructure and high-rise development now being finalised and further major growth being absorbed in this regional corridor over the coming years. East of the Ring Expressway is distinctly different, with the older, taller residential buildings rising up to 16 stories. The B-Line Transport project has made an impact on public transport and the regional traffic on Military Road in recent years. However, there's a great opportunity for the village feel of Neutral Bay Town Centre when the planned Beaches Link tunnel could potentially bypass the centre in the future. Council is negotiating the best outcome if this state government project gets the go-ahead. The Neutral Bay Town Centre is dominated by commuter traffic on Military Road, which has created a major barrier between the northern and southern sides of the centre. The historical function of the road is clear in the physical structure of the road. The scale and function has shifted in favour of the private motor vehicle. This has been to the detriment of local and pedestrian amenity. And while pedestrian amenity has gone down, the residential density has gone up. Traditionally, buildings were predominantly fine-grained commercial, with single dwellings in the surrounding area. During the 70s, new buildings, including more office blocks and residential high-rises, were built, some up to 16 stories high. The current planning controls enable modest increases in density. More density also means an increased demand on the public domain and community facilities. The described characteristics result in a different demographic in the area compared to Greater Sydney. Residents are generally well educated and without children. There's a mix of users with a great amount of jobs balanced by the residential dwellings. However, the redevelopment of office blocks and focus on residential development has slowly resulted in less office space. I will explain this more later in this presentation. Report overview. The exhibited draft Future Direction report contains 3 chapters. The first chapter, A Plan for the Community, dives into the methodology, the engagement outcome, and explains the project timeline. The second chapter focuses on the public benefits with the placemaking strategy, containing community facilities and public domain. Chapter 3 looks at the future growth of Neutral Bay Town Centre, including access, employment, and the actual build form. Chapter 1, A Plan for the Community. Stage 1 of the planning study focuses on Neutral Bay Town Centre, generally between Ben Boyd Road and Murdoch Avenue. Any changes to future build form is generally focused on the commercial core, with the extending boundary indicating the thorough analysis of the sensitive transition to neighbouring residential properties. Neutral Bay Town Centre is in a period of transformation, with current planning controls becoming increasingly outdated as demand for commercial, residential and community facilities intensifies. The existing planning controls are outdated and don't support the right balance of uses. And new development tends to result in residential strata-titled buildings, which constrain new buildings of future changes. This is tending to reduce the amount of employment space currently in the centre. New development can be balanced with public domain and community facilities that are informed by the needs and aspirations of local residents, businesses, and other users. This is a rare and important moment for the area. Council can counter the identified decline in office floor space and jobs in the local area. Council can also balance the building height increase with tangible public benefits. And generally, sites are now changing to mixed-use strata ownership, while developers can challenge the existing planning controls. Therefore, doing nothing is not an option. Under current legislation, developers are able to bypass council with their development aspirations directly to New South Wales government. Having a firm vision framework places council in a stronger position to negotiate the best community outcome when development proposals come in. This report proposes contextual refinements to building controls and public domain. It seeks to meet the demand of future employment floor space, and it proposes in-kind public contributions on 4 selected sites in return for extra building height. A planning proposal is a submission to council to modify existing planning controls, allowing a developer to achieve a different build form than currently allowed under our existing planning controls. When a planning proposal is submitted, there is an opportunity for the developer and council to negotiate a voluntary planning agreement, whereby the developer delivers public benefits whilst accommodating changes to the planning controls. The public benefit offered could be a monetary contribution, dedication of land, or an in-kind contribution. This report focuses on tangible community benefit outcomes in the area itself. The project was identified and kicked off in August 2018 with a stakeholder engagement. This provided council with early information on the characteristics and community values of the area. Context analysis and preparation of a preliminary strategy was followed by consultation with external professionals regarding transport and employment. This was presented in mid-2019 in the form of discussion papers. Conclusions followed on build form and public benefits that are now part of the framework set out in the draft Future Direction report, which is open for comments until the extended deadline 22nd of June 2020. The early engagement in 2018 raised awareness of the need for beautiful public spaces. Other important characteristics include the community feel and village atmosphere, connectivity and proximity to North Sydney and Sydney CBD, restaurants, cafes, pubs for socializing, and the ease of access to shops and services. The preliminary strategy included several options for discussion and feedback. Concern was raised on building heights up to 14 stories. Other concerns were raised relating balanced parking provisions, military road pedestrian amenity and the opportunities for future development to improve this, and maintaining the village atmosphere. Opportunities to deliver public benefits that are in high demand, such as public domain and community facilities, by private development were identified in more detail. Chapter 2. Placemaking Strategy. Previous council studies identified strategies for several council-owned assets. The North Sydney Council Community Land Study of 2016 identified ideas for better utility of the Berry Street car park. The 2015 Grosvenor Lane Planning Study presented ideas on the Neutral Bay Community Centre and the Grosvenor Lane car park. The strategies explored design and community benefit outcomes, including the provision of a public plaza, which is highly desirable. These strategies and interventions were reviewed, are now updated and combined in this report. Following analysis and community feedback, this report has identified the following demand for community facilities in the Neutral Bay Town Centre: an improved community centre, an indoor recreational facility that caters to a variety of sports and activities, artist studios and exhibition spaces, commuter bicycle parking, and a new affordable childcare space. The strategy further identifies opportunities for public domain improvements, including a pedestrian plaza with underground public parking and supermarket at Grosvenor Lane, shared zones on Waters Lane and Grosvenor Lane, pedestrian plaza and underground supermarket at Ranges Road, through-side links and ground floor setbacks, pedestrianised Berry Street and underground public car park, and a potential adaptive reuse of the Neutral Bay Fire Station could also provide further outdoor space at the back while respecting the heritage status of this building. As the need to deliver more community facilities and public domain improvement increases, it is crucial to look at how these facilities are funded. One key approach is the earlier described in-kind contributions, where Council negotiates with developers to deliver community benefits when assessing planning proposals. Chapter 3: Future Growth. Designing for pedestrians and increasing the amount of public space to walk, rest and socialize makes streets and public spaces accessible and safe for all ages. It also makes the town centre more attractive for businesses and residents. The streetscape should be visually interesting and include engaging building frontages with continuous awnings to provide shelter. Materials for shared zones will continue across intersections to slow down traffic and enhance perception of pedestrian safety. This chapter aims to support cycling and walking as key modes of transport, enhance the connectivity and amenity across and along Military Road, and continue the support for loading needs of local businesses. When looking at transport, parking is an important consideration. The draft Future Direction report proposes to maintain the existing parking spaces and move 155 spaces underground. Introducing further public parking would commensurate the amount of traffic onto the road network, which would lead to more congestion, increased risk of crashes, decline in pedestrian activity, less on-street social interaction, and poorer community health outcomes. Poorer on-street shopping amenity would also result in a decline of business activity. Employment. Analysis on employment has shown that recent development has included far less office space. If this trend continues, more than 1,350 jobs and almost all office space will be lost. Currently, we have 2,850 jobs in the area, but that could go down to 1,500. This is in stark contrast to the need to actually grow to 4,000 jobs in 2036 to keep up with local demand and local jobs. The report therefore aims to maintain the existing level of shops and services in the centre and ensure that new development supports long-term employment to keep the local jobs in the area. And to do that, we need to change the planning controls by increasing the non-residential floor space ratio and building height to deliver this. Feedback during initial community engagement highlighted a need to deliver additional public open space and community facilities. 4 key locations for development have been identified to deliver these public benefits, having regard to the capacity of those sites to support additional development capacity. Planning control changes on these sites would include increases to the maximum building heights and employment floor space. Public benefits will be negotiated via a planning agreement to support each planning proposal. Key urban design principles for each site are described in the following few slides and should be referred to when a planning proposal is prepared. Site A. Site A is located at 4351 Grosvenor Street and contains the council-owned Grosvenor Lane car park and a large supermarket. The site is enclosed by Cooper Lane, Waters Lane and Grosvenor Street. Further non-residential floor space is required. There is a potential to improve public amenity by creating a fully pedestrianised plaza, an underground public car park, as well as a supermarket. A ground floor setback on new development widens the plaza. By focusing the distribution of higher buildings to the Grosvenor Street edge, maximum solar access to the plaza is achieved. Here you see an artist's impression of the long-term transformation of Grosvenor Lane. By relocating the existing Grosvenor Lane car park underground, there is a potential for a large new plaza in the middle of Neutral Bay Town Centre. Site B. Site B is located at 176-214 Military Road and includes part of Grosvenor Lane car park. The site is bounded by Military Road and Grosvenor Lane. Properties to the north directly along Waters Road and south directly along Yonge Street are not included in the scheme. It enables development of 2 mixed-use buildings of up to 12 stories in height supported by new and improved public domain, a community center, accessible facilities, creative space and through-site links. Existing heritage buildings will be integrated thoughtfully into any new development. Neutral Bay Town Centre has 3 unique pedestrian connections from Military Road into the Grosvenor Lane car park. Retaining these links when redevelopment occurs is part of this plan. Site C. Site C is located at 183-185 Military Road and 1-7 Ranges Road. The site is enclosed by Military Road, Ranges Road and Yeo Street. It includes a new public plaza, a recreational facility and a through-site link to Yeo Street. These benefits to the public domain are achievable through an underground supermarket and an increase in maximum building height to 12 stories. The future Ranges Road Plaza south of Military Road will be activated by retail, cafes and restaurants along the edges and a continuous open plaza which can host a variety of community events. Site D. Site D is located at 2737 Bydon Street and includes Berry Street Car Park and 40 Yeo Street. The site is enclosed by May Gibbs Place, May Lane, Cheal Lane to the north, Olive Lane and Yeo Street to the south and Bydon Street to the west. Berry Street runs through the middle. There is opportunity to expand the public domain of May Gibbs Place into Berry Street towards Yeo Street to create a pedestrian plaza. Future development along Berry Street should expand onto this public domain spine. In addition, the redevelopment of Berry Street Car Park should relocate existing public parking in the area underground. A pedestrianised promenade along Berry Street will improve accessibility in a north-south direction through the town centre and link existing public domain sites including May Gibbs Place and the potential Yonge Street Plaza across Military Road. In summary, the draft Future Direction Report proposes to increase building height from 5-story to 6 stories to meet the estimated demand of employment floor space in 2036. 4 larger sites can deliver tangible public benefits in return for building height with 3 taller buildings of 8 stories, 3 taller buildings of 12 stories and other buildings kept at 6 stories building height. With these building heights, the draft Future Direction Report is looking to enable an array of public benefits including 155 underground public car park spaces, a new 1,000 square meter community center, approximately 3,200 square meters of new public open space and 5,200 square meters of existing public domain upgrades, a creative maker space art alley, a new 900 square meter indoor recreational facility and 28 secured commuter bicycle parking spots. Once the public exhibition of this report is finalized, Council will work towards a final report. Once a future direction is adopted, planning proposals can be lodged that look to modify the existing planning controls consistent with Council's vision. Planning proposals will deal with detail and go on public exhibition as well. For now, I'd like to thank you for watching. For more information or feedback, access the Council Your Say website or don't hesitate to give me a call.